Well, it's a pleasure to sit down with you, Brydon Duncan, and you are a former rising athlete in Bromley and national champions as well, I believe, and also currently university and training towards your Olympic level performance.
That's the plan, I suppose.
That's the plan, it is. Well, you know what, we would love to kind of find out more about you because you are from our borough, the London Borough of Bromley, South East London, and it's just wonderful to have young people like yourself coming out of Bromley and doing such great things, and this is what the buzz is all about. It's highlighting the amazing things that you're doing, and I know you've had your challenges on the way, but it's how you've overcome them and what you are doing. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your brief kind of account of your childhood, growing up in Bromley, the school you went to. Yeah.
So I was born in St Thomas's Hospital over in Lambeth originally, moved to Bromley when I was about 1, so it's pretty much all I remember. I mean, I lived in Down before, so it wasn't far anyway. Went to school at Scott's Park originally, ended up moving from there.
Really? Scott's Park?
Yeah.
That's
Scott's
literally
Park.
where my flat is.
Yeah, and then ended up moving down to what used to be called Princess Plain Primary, ended up being called Trinity, and then went to secondary school at Langley Park School for Boys, which is kind of where I found my feet with the athletics and pretty much everything else I do.
So would you say that you've always been into athletics?
No, as a kid, like pretty much every kid in this country, I liked football. Just because I liked it didn't mean I was good. I was terrible.
Well, we think that when we're young.
And then when I got to secondary school, my school saw me being 5'8" at 11 years old. They thought, oh,
Wow.
rugby. So ended up playing that for a few years, loved it. And then the athletics kind of just happened. It was a school competition and the teacher needed someone to throw. And he saw me as a human with long arms and said, right, you're doing this. And it started from there really.
Is that the kind of look athletes that you're built for, and they look at you and they go, oh, you could be a discus thrower, you could be a runner, you could be a jumper? Is it very much like that?
I mean, for most kids are around the same size, so they'll kind of do a bit of everything until they get a bit older, and then they decide, do they want to sprint, do they want to throw, do they want to jump, whatever it may be. With me, no one ever looked at me and thought marathon.
Okay.
When you're 6 foot at 14 years old, or whatever I was, 6'3", I think, it was like, yeah, this kid's going to throw, and nothing else.
Nothing else. And you're like, why not give it a shot?
Yeah.
And then you did some shot put as well, there you go.
Yeah.
Put a little pun in there. In terms of growing up, I mean, you went to Langley Boys. I mean, tell us a little bit about your career, what you've done in terms of athletics, to what level. I mean, well, I've kind of mentioned it, but just a little more in depth.
Okay, so I mean, it started off in 2019. I had never really done athletics before, but I ended up going down to the local track in Bromley at Norman Park, the home of Blackheath and Bromley Harriers, and I then linked up with my original coach, Herbie. Started off the season, could barely throw the thing, but I finished off at 4th of the national championships.
Fantastic.
So pretty good rise. We then went into COVID in 2020, so I couldn't really train much. But come 2021, I won the UK title, which is, well, England, Scotland and Wales, in Manchester, which was a massive thing. It was a huge accomplishment, and for my coach, I was the first one of his athletes ever to win the Nationals in his 20 plus year coaching career.
And how old were you then?
Well,
I know you're very young still.
I think I was 16 years old at the time, about 17.
Okay.
So year 11, so just
Year
after
11,
my
wow.
disease.
Wow, okay.
And I mean, it's been a mixed bag of success really. I kind of, for a couple of years, kind of stayed within the top 6, 7 in the UK. But now I'm in seniors, so that means I'm competing against the adults, the Olympians, so suddenly your rankings drop quite significantly because you're with the big boys now.
With the big boys now. Well, and how do you feel about that? I mean, that it's kind of a new world, being with the big boys. I mean, what's your mindset around that? And
I'm not too concerned. I'm in a sport where the length of career is very long in comparison to most. I mean, most sprinters are kind of finished up by the age of 30. Some throwers don't make their first Olympics until they're 30. It's quite a long window of improvements. So, although I'm not really up there at the moment, I've probably got 10 years of wiggle room.
Wiggle room to really get up there.
So
that's, you know, it's really great to hear these kinds of stuff. This is what we love doing, is sharing these stories, because what we want to do is inspire young people as well to get more into sports and know that, you know, you have your challenges, because we'll talk a little bit about some of the challenges you've had as well, but how you've overcome them, which I think is very admirable, and it's it's inspiring. You know, it's a shame that we have to go through these, but you see light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So what kind of story, legacy are you wanting to leave behind for young people, or, you know, if and when you have a family?
That's a difficult question to answer, because for me, I'm in a bit of a mix at the moment as to where my calling is. I obviously do all the athletic stuff, which I still do very frequently. I mean, pretty much every day I'm doing something to do with it. But I'm also working a lot in the mental health industry. So at the moment, my kind of mantra, I suppose I'd say, is human connection is our only wealth. Everyone can kind of read into that however they will. But for me, the most important thing that makes us human is the fact that we are able to connect with one another in very unique ways, and I think,
absolutely,
particularly compared to pretty much any other species, we're quite unique.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and connecting is what is part of our survival mechanism at the end of the day. I wanted to ask you about, obviously, Langley Park. So the contribution that, because obviously that was the school you were at, and that's where it kind of all kicked off. What kind of contribution have they made to your athletics career, or boosting you, the support that you've had from them?
Langley Park was a fantastic school. I didn't have the most amazing time there, as I did unfortunately suffer from some bullying, and also, which we'll go into later, I suffer from autism and ADHD. So, you know, school was never the easiest thing for me, but I can't fault the school. They were fantastic in giving me support both in and out of the academic room. In terms of the sport, they gave me an opportunity which originally no one else had. When I was younger, no sports clubs would take me because they didn't want someone with autism in their team, as they thought, I don't know how to deal with this, whatever it may be. Whereas Langley kind of saw the potential, I suppose it was. I think they probably just saw me being huge and thought, right, we've got to get him in some way.
Yeah, they saw potential in you, and they thought, you know, there's something special that can come out of whether you have autism or not, but there was something that you could aspire to yourself. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, like I said, I had some very special bonds with a few teachers there.
Lovely.
Probably a bit more on a deeper level than most students have with their teachers. I mean, I'm still in touch with a few of them today. But yeah, I suppose secondary school was the first place where I really felt I connected with people and was able to not just blend in a bit, but actually excel in certain areas.
Yeah. And speaking of Langley Park, that is where you have launched your documentary.
Yes.
Now, obviously I'm saying that, a lot of people are not going to know, so why don't you, and you also mentioned mental health, so why don't you just give us a little brief insight, because you chose Langley Park to launch your premiere of the documentary. So I'd love to hear why you chose Langley Park, but give us an insight before as to what this documentary is.
Okay, so for a bit of backstory, about 3 years ago, so in 2022, I decided to make a mental health post on my social media to address why I would be leaving the athletic season early, because I was going through mental health issues at the time. And that post did quite well, so the following year I did a follow-up one. This one was kind of addressing more my mental health story, rather than just the kind of months prior. And again, that did really well. So following that, I decided I needed to do something a bit bigger. And that kind of started off as a short video, and then it kind of culminated and ended up being a full-length documentary, which is where we are today. The documentary looks at essentially from when I was born to just before I start university. So hosting the premiere of the film at Langley Park kind of felt like a closing chapter, because that's kind of where the film finishes. It's like leaving school in my gap year, closing the book on that chapter, moving on. So it kind of felt like a full circle moment.
Okay. And your documentary, because you said circle, your documentary is called?
Breaking the Circle.
Breaking the Circle.
Originally the film was actually going to be a bit more sports focused, so I thought breaking the stigma, be throwing circles, so breaking the circle. But then it kind of just developed into more of a mental health focused film, and I just liked the name. I thought it kind of gave it a bit of character. It kind of felt like it resonated with me a bit. So, yeah.
And the support that you've had from Langley, and obviously you on the day of the launch that you invited me to, which was just, I was in awe in terms of I had goosebumps all over just listening to it, because you hear lots and lots of stories, but this every time it's always special and different in a just heartwarming way, and you touch so many people's lives in that room. I'm sure even those that weren't there, but what was your thoughts and experience of you being there in the room on that day?
It was quite a surreal experience because I was able to reconnect with people who I hadn't seen for some of them 10 years. There was friends from childhood there who moved away or whatever it may be, and I hadn't spoken to them really since I was 10 years old. Wow. It's only through social media that you reconnect at some point, usually through lockdown because you get bored, and then you finally have an excuse to meet up and do something.
Teachers as well, though.
Yeah, it's very interesting seeing people who are originally of authority, so teachers, coaches, whoever it may be, and for the first time ever, kind of connecting with them on a personal level, because they no longer see you as their student or their athlete, they see you as an adult, just like them. My coach did a speech there, and he said himself, I started out making the film as a young man, and now I'm an adult. Which was, it was quite touching, because, that coach, Alex Pope, he's been someone who's kind of been there non-stop for the last 2 or 3 years, so for him to say that in a public way was quite touching, really.
Yeah. Must have been lots of emotional points for you as well there.
Yeah, I certainly kept it together. At the end of the film, my best friend Sasha, who was a large part of the movie, came down, and he was the first one to come down. I turned to him and said, "Did you cry?" And he was like, "Yeah." I went, "I'll deal with you later, I've got people to talk to."
He did an amazing speech as well. It was just wonderful. You also had the Mayor of Bromley come along, Councillor Jonathan Andrews, which was lovely, and he also is neurodiverse. So how was that, meeting him and speaking with him about the
I'll be honest, I didn't get a huge chance to talk to the Mayor because my mother actually...
Everybody wanted to speak to you and him.
Well, my mother was the one accompanying the Mayor, so she got to have a good chat with him. But it was interesting, he was a supporter of a charity that my parents actually used for me as a kid, called Casper, which supports kids on the spectrum and a whole other bunch of neurodivergent things. It was interesting talking to him about his career because he works in the music law industry, which I found quite interesting. He was an interesting person to talk to. The mayoress as well, she was a lovely woman.
And it's amazing, like you said, it's about connection, and when we connect and what we find out about people that we probably don't even imagine that we're going to know about them. You think, oh, you know, they've probably not encountered, but their journey in their life have taken them somewhere, and they've gone through them. So it's interesting stories pop up, don't they? I wanted to ask you about Blackheath and Bromley Harriers. What does that mean to you?
For many years, it's been like a second home. I mean, I've kind of trained there on and off now for a couple of years because you change coaches, you move tracks, obviously go to university. But you know, it's where I started my athletics journey. My first ever athletics competition was there back when I was 13. That was just with the school. I think I did the hurdles because I was tall. You know, I made some very meaningful relationships there, both with teammates and managers and coaches alike. I'm in a position now where I think, because of what I do in the mental health space, I think people respect it, and people are a lot more approachable to me now because, you know, they know what I do, and they kind of are happy or want to have that conversation with me.
So you feel that there's going to be more open conversations happening in kind of the athletic sporting field around the people that you're with?
With Blackheath Harris, I'm certain that will happen because obviously it's one of their own who's doing it. But obviously the goal originally was to kind of tackle the athletics landscape, but I think now it's kind of got a bit more mainstream. Like with in terms of the mental health stuff, I kind of want to impact a wider audience than just athletics. Obviously athletics is the first base, but I want to branch out into kind of the mainstream media.
Okay. And that was going to be my sort of next question to you, is like, you know, what is your vision? Where are you headed? Next steps for you in terms of the athletics and the mental health as you're advocating that, and then you have your documentary. What are the next stages for, you know, how are you going to juggle both of them for you?
Well, with athletics, I'm currently training at Brydon University with Gary Power, who's a first coach. He went to the Winter Olympics as a bobsledder back in the day. And then my other coach, Alex Pope. You know, athletics is a beautiful thing in that you have time, particularly in my event. The issue with athletics is being able to train at that level once you leave school. And with the mental health stuff, that's kind of where that's going to kind of support the athletics side of things. I'm starting my own business where I want to travel the country, maybe the continent, the world, doing talks about mental health, encouraging open conversations because, you know, the main passion for me is tackling this male suicide rate. I mean, like I mentioned at the premiere, in the first 6 months alone in the world, there was 450,000 deaths of males just to suicide. And that's just the recorded ones. So
that's kind of more where your sort of next steps align and where you want to go. Your mission, your vision is to follow that field.
And the benefit of doing that means that I am able to still train. Because if I'm working for myself, in theory I'll be able to manage my own time, so I can still train. It's not a case of wake up at 5 AM, head into London for work, sit in an office all day, come back, it's already 8 PM, how the hell am I going to train?
How are you going to train? Exhausted.
So
you've got the flexibility to maintain the athletics career as well as doing what you're really passionate and you love about.
Sure, I mean, I'll give it a crack till I'm in my 30. If it doesn't work out, I can retire happy knowing that I tried.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, no matter what you do, there will be a difference that you'll make in somebody's life out there. Even if you just touch 1 or 2 people's lives, you've made that difference in whatever you decide to follow in your career. In terms of your inspiration, what is your inspiration and your drive? Because obviously we're going to talk more about the mental health challenges that you've had in my podcast, Let's Talk Clarity, which we'll link this episode to. But, you know, just overall, what is your drive that really pushes you forward to keep going and accomplish the things you want to accomplish, whether it's, you know, the mental health, university, as an athlete?
I think when it comes to academics and athletic performance, it's all down to the athletics really. I mean, the athlete mindset is forever seeking excellence. And if you apply that same mindset to other aspects of life, excellence is at the front of it all. So, you know, if I want to perform better at school, perform better on the athletics field, it all comes down to knowing that I need to work harder, X, Y, Z to do that. And when it comes to the mental health stuff, that comes into play, but the personal reasons for it are obviously the stuff I've gone through, but I've lost close family friends to suicide, or, you know, we know people who have lost their kids or their parents, or whoever it may be, and I think because of the stuff I went through, it became kind of this is happening a lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, you know, no one ever spoke about it, obviously, so I thought I was an anomaly.
Yeah. So that's your drive, that's your inspiration, making a difference. I want to ask you one more question to kind of leave a thought for, you know, people who are listening to this podcast and the young people. I mean, if someone wants to be an athlete, or for example, if somebody's going through the challenges that you may have gone or not gone through, or just wants to kind of go in the field of being, like I said, an athlete, what is your message to them? Because that's going to encompass everything about you, isn't it?
Happiness should be the priority. Obviously, most athletes, the number one priority is performance. You want to win, that's why we do what we do. It's a very lonely sport. But something I've experienced myself, you know, I've left to go to certain coaches and it didn't work out, which, you know, is life. Yeah. That happens. But I think I prioritise the fact that they're a better coach. I need to stick with it. Where in reality, maybe my original coach wasn't as good, but the happiness led to better results. The way that I always see it is a well-executed poor plan is 10 times better than a badly executed top-tier plan.
Makes sense.
Because at least you can figure out what's going wrong when you're doing it properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what? It's so lovely to just sit here and talk to you. It's inspiring, you know. Somebody so young who's from Bromley, is an athlete, is gone on to do great things and more to come, but also in what you want to do, that you're really passionate about, is your, you know, mental health advocating, travelling, going global. It's a real pleasure to be able to have this conversation and for you to give this message to the London Borough of Bromley. So,
thank you.
And thank you for being here on the Bromley Buzz.
No, it's been a pleasure.
It's great, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.